This is a war on disinformation, which at some point, in some way, is certain to be a war on you.
There's a great opportunity for disinformation, especially on social media. I caution you to be very careful about what you choose to believe and on what basis.
By far, the deadliest Israeli airstrike ever.
Hundreds taking shelter at a Gaza City hospital were killed in an Israeli airstrike today.
An Israeli missile struck the hospital. Absolutely horrific loss of life.
This was not a blast. This was not an explosion. This was an airstrike. It was a deliberate war crime that Israel conducted on this hospital.
It is unlikely that a crude rocket fired by a Palestinian group could cause that number of casualties.
Hard to see how that would have been a misfired rocket.
And we should say finally that there are instances in the past where the Israeli military has said things in the immediate aftermath of an incident that have turned out not to be true in the long run.
Are there tapes that you accepted bribes, President Biden? Is that true?
The President of the United States has taken $5 million or more in bribes from a foreign nation.
Sticking with the media, you wouldn't know it following our media, but the political leader of the closest and most important ally Australia has is embroiled in a massive corruption scandal. US President Joe Biden and his family are now facing calls to explain the millions of dollars from foreign nationals that's found its way into their bank account.
Does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
Well, they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. They are going to try to indict a father for loving his son who has been addicted to drugs and or alcohol, and without evidence of the father doing anything other than loving that son.
Assuming that there is a new government and a new prosecutor general, I am prepared to do a public signing of the commitment for the $1 billion. Again, I'm not suggesting that that's what you want or don't want. I'm just suggesting that that's what we're prepared to do.
When there's evidence linking President Biden to a high crime or misdemeanor,
right.
You said, quote, that doesn't exist right now. Do you still feel that way tonight?
I have not seen any evidence that links President Biden to Hunter Biden's activities at this point.
I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
People have short attention spans, and I do worry that this might be a little too convoluted, and they need to simplify it and to make it easily digestible to Americans. And it's really got to tie Joe Biden to truly selling out the American people for foreign money, which I believe he did.
Billions more for Ukraine, your tax dollars. But that money's not going to be going to the newly communities of Eastern Ohio. Who cares about them? It's not going to be earmarked for the hundreds of thousands of American families who have lost loved ones to the epidemic, an epidemic that was created by Democratic donors at Purdue Pharma. No, that money's going to Zelensky and his wife in Kiev. And that money will complement the more than $100 billion in tax dollars they've already received from the U.S. Treasury. And you've got to think, as they watch this tonight, assuming there's still TV reception in East Palestine, the people who are stuck there are kicking themselves. If only they had paid Joe Biden's son $80,000 a month for a no-show job, Janet Yellen might be visiting them today. It seemed like a lot of money at the time, but that turned out to be the best investment those Ukrainian oligarchs ever made. It was like buying Google stock 20 years ago. Talk about a jackpot.
We have a president who has arrested his political rival in America, in the United States.
There is something truly rotten going on in the world, and unfortunately, it's not what we're being directed to look at or to consume our lives with. When the establishment say, look over there, it's usually because there's something they desperately don't want you to see much closer to home.
Ultimately, if you listen to what Trump is saying, you don't just sort of regard him as a spectacle, but you listen to what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's basically portraying a future for America if he is put back in the White House in which we don't have another election after that.
That's
ever.
right.
Because the elections are all rigged, that the democratic process can't be trusted, that Congress should just work for him, the Justice Department should just work for him. That's a strongman form of government. That's not what we have.
He'd cancel the news.
America, ladies and gentlemen, is under attack, and not from our usual enemies. The threat we face tonight is existential, but it's not coming from barefoot religious extremists living in caves. As they say in the horror movies, it's coming from inside the house. The single gravest threat to America today is Republican voters, all 75 million of them. They are and destroyers of democracy. They must be stopped. That is the message of Joe Biden's speech. Just moments ago, he referred to MAGA forces who are apparently marshaling at Red Lobster near you, ready to take over this country.
And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? You know, because at some point, you know, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
Owen Schroyer is being targeted by the DOJ. They want 120 days in prison. Why? Speech. Owen Schroyer, a pundit, personality, and journalist for InfoWars, said some things. And for the things he said, the DOJ says he should go to prison for it. And this is what I said was going to happen. I said, now they're going after, they go after Trump, they go after his lawyers. The next people in line are going to be the pundits who are advocating for or encouraging people on January 6th. First person in line, Owen Schroyer. Now, a few important details. He did not go into the Capitol. The InfoWars team had a permit to have a rally outside the Capitol in a different area. Owen Schroyer was on Capitol grounds. This is the initial pretext they get to charge him. He pleads guilty. They then say in the sentencing document, the prosecutor says, because of his speech before, during, and after the event, he should get this amount of time in prison.
Now, to underscore how deeply Joe Biden means all of this, tonight's address in Philadelphia is not being categorized as a campaign event ahead of the midterm elections, which is what it looks like. No. Instead, this speech has the full sponsorship of the White House. In other words, what Joe Biden is saying right now is the official position of the entire executive branch of the U.S. government. That would include the Justice Department, the various intel agencies, and the world's most powerful standing military. Think about that. Does it make you nervous?
The country fell asleep, but they scream woke. We're distracted by vaccines and TV shows, politics, celebrity gossip, popular neat quotes. Black lives, white lives, which lives mean most? We only dedicate one day to remember our fallen soldiers, the men and women who died young. But if you come out the closet as Caitlyn Jenner, you're a hero and you get a whole Pride Month. The most dangerous pandemic's propaganda from these clowns. Only mask that's gonna save us is duct tape on their mouths. Don't speak. We don't need to defund police, need to defund the media who lies through their teeth like Big Pharma doesn't cure you, dog, cause every patient that gets cured is a customer lost. And big oil runs the world, the only wars that get fought are with the countries who have natural resources they want. Heard him claiming if a white man braids his hair and likes rap, he's appropriating culture. But if a white man acts too white, he's white trash. He's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a monster. Let's just have the conversation. Not every liberal is dumb, not all Republicans are racist. The government wants everybody fighting with their neighbors cause they know that if we get along, we'll probably go against them. They can't stop us, cause we're ready to fight, trying to brainwash us. But we won't let freedom die. The whole world's brainwashed. Everybody pick a team, start a riot in the streets. The whole world's brainwashed. It's us against them, it ain't you against me. How did monkeys become people and people turned into sheep? They put fluoride in the water that's keeping us all asleep. Claim they want what's best for us, I find it hard to believe. Cause they've been selling us cigarettes since we was 18. Fake news, fake woke, distract and divide. You're either right or you're left, or you're black or you're white. Big tech don't need a microchip to hack in your life. Cause the phone inside your pocket is a tracking device. And I don't know what I'm more sick of, rappers or Joe Biden looking like he ate 100 Xanax for dinner. Cause censoring the president and kicking him off Twitter is a bigger threat to freedom than foreign ballistic ballistic missiles. You don't trust the police or the government, but you want people giving up their right to own a firearm. Why would you be comfortable if police and the government the only people on the planet with the right to buy a gun? White privilege getting amplified to reinforce division. It convinces white people that they're favored by their skin, and black people getting angry because they're told they're treated different. So the conflict is between us and never with the system. Let's just have the conversation. Not every liberal is dumb, not all Republicans are racist. The government wants everybody fighting with their neighbors because they know that if we get along, we'll probably go against them. They can't stop us, cause we're ready to fight, trying to brainwash us. But we won't let freedom die. The whole world's brainwashed. Everybody pick a team, start a riot in the streets. The whole world's brainwashed. It's us against them, it ain't you against me. Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design. They can't stop us, cause we're ready to fight, trying to brainwash us. But we won't let freedom die. The whole world's brainwashed.